Yeah, all right, race fans, ready for another week of slinging dirt?
Lately, we've been slinging mud.
This is getting ridiculous. I think I'm definitely contacting a lawyer, and I'm going to take Mother Nature to court because this is crap.
Get in line. I'm first. I'm a racer. You just announce them.
My heart was broken Sunday. My
Yeah.
heart was broken Sunday. I was looking forward to a great World of Outlaws race, seeing them 410s, seeing Darren Pittman in victory lane. I was looking forward to a lot of things on Sunday. And
We were
instead,
all ready to go. I busted butt and got the front end of my car fixed in literally 8 hours. Spent all day Saturday and Sunday. I figured we ran out Saturday, but Sunday out in no World of Outlaws.
Yeah, that's... What are you going to do? You know, the thing is, though, you're kind of drawn, like... I mean, we've talked about it before. My dad's a farmer. I come from the farming community, so I don't want to complain about the rain because it can definitely swing the other direction very quickly.
You ever heard of country music superstar Luke Bryan?
Yes.
He's got that song, Rain is a Good Thing. If I ever hear that again, I'll shoot him.
This is Slingin' Dirt. June, what is today? June 9th?
June 9th. It's like June 11th or June 12th, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, we're recording on the 11th, and this will be out on the 12th, so whichever one it is to you.
Yeah.
Welcome to another
I
day.
never go by the date.
As far as the rain for the forecast this week, there's chances of scattered showers on Thursday and Friday, but Saturday looks to be pretty nice. I don't think there's going to be any rain, but that changes pretty quickly, and especially depending on where you're at. I'm getting the weather forecast for the Omaha metropolitan area.
I seriously, in 20 years, this being my 20th year, I don't think I've ever seen so many rainouts in 1 year. Last year, we couldn't get rain to save our hide. This year, last night I was in the shower, and I got out of the shower, looked in the mirror. I got gills coming in behind the back of my ears.
Poor Alta. What is that, the Beaver?
The Alta's Buena Vista Raceway up at Alta.
They've gotten 2 races in this year.
Two
They
races. Only have like 13 scheduled.
They're going to be racing in October with makeup dates.
Yeah, it sounds like they are going to be doing some makeup dates in August, I believe. They got to get that cleared through IMCA. Some other tracks, I think Marshalltown is one of them. They're actually going to do 2 full shows in one night.
Wow.
Heats, features, Bs, you name it.
And as of about 5:30 Central Time, looks like 40% chance of scattered showers on Friday and 40% on Saturday. So that's tough. But if you're wondering about the World of Outlaws, please stop calling I-80 Speedway. They were facilitating the track, and that was it. Joe's called me earlier this week, and he goes, can you guys please talk about it on your show? If you had purchased tickets for World of Outlaws, go back to your point of purchase. If it was a website, go back there. If it was a Napa store, go back there. I-80 doesn't have anything to do with it. They rented the track out, and unfortunately, because of the World of Outlaws tight schedule, doesn't look like that race is going to be... And I'm sugarcoating that. That race, Joe flat out told me that race is not going to happen again. So he's going to try to get it next year.
You and I were talking last week, we were really excited about going and watching the World of Outlaws out there. It's the first time they've been there in, probably 10, 12 years.
I think it was less. I think it was like 5 or 6.
Now, since I've been racing there in 2004, the Outlaws haven't been there.
I thought somebody had said about 5 or 6.
No.
Well, either way, it's been a long time.
Either way, it's been a long time. And you and I were excited about watching them, but I can guarantee you the number one person that was probably heartbroken was Joe Koziski. Because he knew he was going to be bringing in a field of people out there, and there's going to be quite the fan base. And I know the B-mods that I'm racing against, a bunch of us were ready to come on out there. I
know there was excitement for that race because I sat down with Joe at the Anchor Inn Sunday afternoon, and we drank away our sorrows. Well, actually, I guess you could count it as I sipped and then passed out, and he drank. And then carried on throughout his normal day. That man's got a liver like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
But he told me that 2,100 tickets were sold through Napa alone. So
now they didn't sell the tickets. They only had $5 off discount coupons.
You could buy them there. You had them. You purchased them at Napa. That was exactly where you purchased them, and you got a $5 discount when you went there.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, just at Napa retailers was 2,100 tickets sold.
Can you imagine if you're a Napa store and you didn't do much business that day other than the tickets, what that's going to do to your till?
That's like December 26th for a lot of retailers.
Not a good day.
You saw a lot of money go out the door the couple of weeks before, but then a lot of money come back in. So, but yeah, it's unfortunate, and it's just what it is, you know. But let's talk about some dirt racing that did get in. Do you want to talk point standings and results from a couple of tracks, or do you want to talk Joe's dirt racing series first?
Let's cover, seeing as how I-80, kind of got rained out Sunday night. Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at some of what the racers did on Friday night for their NASCAR Weekly show. Last year we covered a lot of tracks between you, Andrew, and I, and we all talked. I mean, we were here sometimes for an hour and a half just reading results. So
you sit there and say, we want to read off. Listen, yes. Ideally, we want to give everybody out their credit, but when there's 6 divisions at 2 tracks, so 12 divisions, and you do 10 names of people, you're reading 120 different names.
Yeah, so this year I made the audible.
Just results.
So I made the audible. If for some of the other track promoters out there, if you're listening to the Slingin Dirt, hey, give me a shout at Buddy J at joeskarting.com or call me. It's not real hard to find my number. Maybe we can do a shout out for you. But this year, here's what we're going to do. Eagle rained out Saturday. So 1 week starting tonight.
By the way, is that 2 weeks in a row?
That's 3.
3 weeks in a row?
Maybe 4 this Saturday. But anyway, starting tonight, we're going to cover the Nebraska tracks, Eagle and I-80. Next week on the Slingin Dirt, we're going to cover Denison and Harlan.
How are we going to cover Eagle if they haven't run for 3 weeks?
So we're just not going to mention.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and what I want to do is instead of reading off top 10, let's just read the top 5 and then 6th through 10th. If they, advance quite a few spots, we can, do a shout out to them. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with the super late models. This would have been from June 7th, last Friday.
Do you have points or results?
This is just results.
Okay.
In the super late models in the A feature, Justin Zeitner taking home the win, followed by Todd Pospisil. Third be Craig Preble. Fourth, Bill Layton Jr. And fifth, Justin Craig. And Dylan Smith coming from 12th to 7th. And Corey Dumpert, 13th to 8th. Those are my honorable mentions in the super late models. Not looking too shabby.
In the A-Mods A feature, Joe Hoffman. Okay, Joe Hoffelman took the win. Kevin Larkins took second. Dustin Anderson third. Andy Watkins fourth.
Wilkinson.
Wow. Andy Wilkinson took fourth, and Nick Deal took fifth. See what happens when I don't prep?
Good Lord. Hey, that Kevin Larkins, real quick, I want to go back. That's a national IMCA modified driver, a national champion. Former national champion. Great to see him out.
And then big mover of the day, Larry Goritz. Gertz?
Yep.
Okay.
You got to love racers in our names.
No, I don't. I hate it. Came from 20th to finish 8th.
That's a hell of a move.
Biggest mover of the day, other than probably Nick Deal, who finished 5th but started 13th. So. Yeah,
in the Pro-Ams, you got Dr. Nick Steyer. Nice guy. Started 4th, finished 1st. Second, Cody Clark. Don't know too much about him. Don Moore. 3rd, 4th, Kurt Drake. And rounding out the top 5, Chad Sanders. Honorable mention goes to Tim Drake. Tim Pedraza and Ray Dessel. Man, look at that. 14 spots, 15th to 9th. Good for him.
This isn't fair. You're getting the easy names. This isn't fair. You set this up, haven't you? You're setting It's not hard to set me up to fail, is it? In the B-Mods, Bill Flegg took home the victory. Let's see. Michael Grantham took home second. Dusty Blake third. Cody Olson 4th, and Blaine Peterson took home 5th.
That Cody Olson should look familiar. He's been at Denison a couple times.
777, yep. Let's see, honorable mentions. Everyone kind of came up a couple of positions. Sean Conaway came up 5.
Yep.
So,
in the Grand Nationals, taking home your win, Todd Bell out of Omaha. 2nd place, Bill Coons. 3rd place, Troy Daly. Ron Cumberledge, don't know too much about him, taking home 4th. Dave Cook, owner of DirtDrivers.com, by the way, taking home 5th place. Honorable mention would have to go out to Todd Morgan out of Bellevue, 13th to 7th.
Rounding out your Hornet feature, Joe Baker took home the victory. Dan Markham took home 2nd. Andrew Kuva took home 3rd. Dave Christensen 4th. And Tammy Clark came home in 5th. Biggest mover of the day was Joe Baker, went from 11th to take home the victory.
Yeah, good for him. Man, he's a nice kid, too. If you ever get a chance to meet him, Joe Baker couldn't speak of a better of a nicer guy all the way around.
Good. Okay, what are we doing next?
Let's look at this Joe's Karting Dirt Track Series that you are way confused on.
This is ridiculous.
All right, listen.
You just got to dumb it down to where, but there is no easy way, though. I mean, this is one of those divides that we've talked about. There are divides between how I like things done in NASCAR. They have the convenience of 43 of the same drivers racing at the same track versus you've got how many drivers signed up for the
I have
series?
30.
Okay, and they're racing 25 different tracks.
All it is, okay, I'll try to explain this as easy as I can. Dan Taylor, you're a late model racer. I'm a B mod racer. You went in the Dirt Track Series. It's $20 one time. $15 goes to the pot.
And just by the way, is it closed?
Yes, it is closed.
Okay.
Nobody can enter it.
Okay.
So you have to claim a minimum on your schedule. You have to claim a minimum 10 nights, but you can only claim a maximum 30 nights. So when you sign up, you have to give me your schedule. I don't care where you race, what sanction, what night. I don't care. It's just a dirt night.
What if I add a race?
What's that?
Can I send it? What if I decide I'm going to race the 31st
When you sign up, your schedule is locked.
Okay, what if one of those races, I don't know, the off chance that it rains out?
Well, I'm going to get to that.
Okay, well, I'm hoping you get there.
So let's say you take 30 nights. I use IMSA scoring for points, which is 40 points for a win. Well, what's 30 nights times 40 points if you were to win each night? 1,200 points.
Yeah.
Well, Buddy Ray...
wasn't very nice of you to try to make me do math.
Buddy Ray goes, well, I'm not Dan Taylor with the late model. I've only got a B mod, and I can only afford to run 10 nights, but here's my schedule. Well, that's fine. To make it fair, I take 1,200 points divided by 10 nights makes my A feature win worth 120 points. What you're essentially doing as a driver is you're claiming that your schedule is pretty tough, and that therefore you only want to claim those nights on the series. But now your question with the rain out. So on 30 nights, if you get 40 points for a win and you're clipping right along on that fifth night, all of a sudden you get a rain out. Well, last time I checked, we can't control Mother Nature.
Right.
So then you're now scored on a 29-night schedule, and it's what we call a mulligan in the point series. That now makes your A feature win with 41.379 points, because if you were to take 41.379,
so it just averages out.
It's averages, and that's what it does.
Now, how do you come up with a point system? Is it everybody who gets a win for 40 points, second place gets 39, third
That's
place
on a
gets
30-night schedule. So what I do is I take 1,200 points.
Okay.
Divided by 30.
Okay.
Makes 40. So you take 1,200 points on dirt, divide by 29. It makes a 41.379 point score.
I'm not entirely sure how you were expecting me to understand that with the sheets you sent me earlier today. But okay,
well, now you're kind of picking up on it. But now here's the deal. If you're not running too good, I mean, if you look down here at the bottom of on my point standings at 30th place, well, you look at 30th place, that's Nick Lakes. Look how many mulligans he's got. That's 6 rainouts.
Wow.
On 22 nights. He hasn't even turned a lap yet on a dirt. Now, you get bonus points. And the way you get bonus points is you go into Joe's Karting. You buy a $13.50 race or whatever. It's 1 point per cart. We don't care where you start. So if you're in a race with 10 go-karts and you win, you get 10 points. If you're in a race with 5 go-karts and you win, you get 5 points.
So it's not a bad idea to get a group together, come to Joe's Karting, and whoop them.
No.
Kind of like I like to do at Joe's Karting.
Yeah, so if you look at the top 5, look at the top 5 in points, and look how many kart races he's got. Look at Steve McConnell up there sitting first place. Look how many points he has at Joe's.
Wow, 154 bonus points.
But now look, he's got 2 rainouts at I-80. Of the 2 rainouts, that's included in the 5 of 12 nights. But look how many dirt points he has. So you add those together, and that's your final deal. Right. But here's the deal: we have also 17 sponsors. So right now, only because we have 50 or more drivers, top 10 payout financially through Joe's. The series is locked, so we're at 30, top 5. 49 and under drivers, top 5 payout. So right now, we're paying out $203 to Steve McConnell, who's currently in the points lead. So that's pretty slick. Now, you look at...
how much did Steve have to pay to get in?
One time, $20. Okay. And then you got to buy your races at Joe's when you come in. But now, I'll show you something interesting. Look down there where 14th place is, Shaylee Bade.
Yeah.
Shaylee Bade, she's at 250 points. Do you know that if ever... I do have a standings, and I emailed you this.
Who? Oh, 14th.
14th,
okay.
Shaylee Bade. If every one of these drivers were to win every single dirt track race left on their claimed schedules and did no more races at Joe's, she would be sitting second place right now, taking home $162.50. She would have a $200 front wing for her sprint car. She would have a $100 IMCA Race Saver sprint car license donated by IMCA, and she would win other stuff from the racetrack for $20. So the drivers, there is a lot of confusion, but then when the drivers look at my point sheet and I show them the chart, and you've seen how big that chart is, I have to do that longhand. And so it's a lot of work, but the drivers are like, this is really nice, because like Cody Thompson from Denison, the number 25 Sport Compact, he's got so many rainouts that he cannot viably run for a national championship now.
Because he's probably running Alta also, right?
He runs Alta, Denison, and Harlan. Raceway Park. Actually, it's Alta on Wednesday, Denison on Friday, Raceway Park on Sunday. But between Alta and Raceway Park, there's so many rainouts, he can't even vie for a national championship now.
Well, this is the Slingin Dirt, and we're talking Joe's Karting Dirt Series that is currently locked. I am Dan Taylor, joined as always by my good friend Buddy Ray. Do you want to do top 10, how they're standing right now? Or
yeah, we can do top 10.
Move on to the big super secret conversation that
we're going to save that for last.
Okay.
That's right. Juicy.
So top 10, do you want to, why don't you just read them on?
Top 10, starting in 10th place, Logan Scott, 301.250 points. 9th place, Keegan Scott with 307.75 points. 8th place, 310 points, Ramsey Meyer, Sport Compacts. Number 7, Steve Reitz in the Sport Mods with 330.125 points.
Hey, by the way, just a side note, have you talked to Steve at all this week? Do you know if he's going to get that car fixed up and back to racing?
Steve Reitz?
Oh, it was Craig that took a tumble.
It was Craig Reitz, yeah. Gary Sadoff is sitting 6th in the Sport Mods with 333.5 points. Chantel Bade in the karts sitting 5th with 353.75. Kate Richards. Okay, that was a little creepy.
Sorry. Every time I hear her name, I think that song pops into my head. Anyways.
Number 4, last year's Dirt Series champion, Kate Richards, sitting 4th right now, 365 points. Jordan Evans sitting 3rd with 372.375 points. Howard Kozel sitting 2nd with 380. And Steve McConnell sitting 1st with 380.363 points. The one thing about Steve McConnell that's helping him, he's got those kart races at Joe's.
It's helping him a lot.
It's helping him a lot.
What, he would be back in...
He would be
3?
Yeah.
Because he'd have 226 points, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He would be way down there.
He'd be 17th.
But I tell you what, you go to look at that number 7, that Steve Reitz. If he was to come into Joe's Karting and he was to chair, and you see how these guys are really starting to come into Joe's and get their bonus points. Yeah. If Steve was to show up and do 3 races, cherry pick them, and get into a race where there's 10 karts to a race, he could potentially win 30 points. If he wins 30 points, he's going to go to 360.125 points. All he's got to do is a few more races, and he's up there in 3rd. But each time they buy a race at Joe's for $13.50, Rich, out of the kindnesses of his heart and my intelligent way of thinking, we take $1.50 out of that $13.50 and we put it back into the pot.
Yeah. So every time you buy a race, it's
the
just
pot goes
increasing
up.
the pot. And that's what it says at the end of it, is that it's a ever-flowing progressive pot as the series runs through October 26th.
March 1st through October 26th. And everybody, there is a lot of questions. Why do we run a season so long? Well, what I do
not as long as NASCAR season.
Yeah. Well, March, most of the racing around here starts, mid-April, late April for the weekly shows. Nobody's racing weekly at March 1st.
Right.
So that gives you all of March to come into Joe's. Those races count for bonus points. Well, then in October, September, most of the racing's done. October, most of the racing is done. So then that gives you the last half of September and almost the whole month of October to come in and get some bonus points. So if you're not running good on the dirt track, come into Joe's, see me, get some points, and it could really pay off for you.
Now, it can also be like Jesse Sobbing, who obviously hopped into an A-mod for the first time this year. He was racing back in March and April as he was trying to get his wheels underneath of him. So he could have counted those points.
He could have, but he has to claim those nights up front when he signs up. He can't sit there and sign up today for the Dirt Series and then call me tomorrow and go, hey, I won last night. Can I put that on my schedule? Yep. Well, no, that's not fair.
Now, can we talk about it now?
Yeah, you're just.
Well, I'm just curious because the thing is, was it 2 weeks ago? No, it was last Wednesday. So yeah, 2 weeks ago. It'd be 2 weeks ago the day you guys are hearing this. The Scott brothers, Keegan and Logan Scott, went to Alta on Wednesday night, as they always do, and raced. And they got to race, actually, because it was nice and
dry.
And had a little bit of trouble with post-race inspection.
Yep.
Little, what do you want to call it, Chad Canals issues?
No, I wouldn't call it that. That I would not call. And I'm gonna kind of dance around this a little lightly.
Well, and yeah, please keep in mind that we are friends with them, and we're friends with a lot of race car drivers. If
we don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
We don't want to damage anybody's reputation.
No.
We don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to damage any tracks. We started doing all of this because we wanted to help dirt racing.
Right.
You wanted to help dirt racing, and I have since become addicted and have jumped on board with you. It's not our intentions to paint anybody in a bad light.
No.
It's our intentions to offer a platform that if you happen to get disqualified, you're more than welcome to pop on a microphone with us and talk about it.
Oh, yeah, by all means. If you ever want to come on, me and Dan are not, especially me, we are not hard to find on the internet or dirt drivers or at the racetrack. I mean, just come see us. Hey, you want to talk something? Come on in the studio. We'll give you a mic and let's hash it out. Basically, what happened, there were 2 motors purchased. I'm trying to say this very lightly.
2 motors per car because both
one
Keegan
motor,
and Logan.
one motor per car.
Okay.
602 crate.
Okay.
There were questions about the seal bolts.
Okay.
The seller kind of danced around the issue, but he guaranteed their father, John Scott, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. I mean, you go in and you spend, several $1,000s with the guy in the seller's going, well, Dan Taylor, there's nothing wrong. You'll be just fine. There's nothing wrong.
Yep.
Okay, most drivers are going to be like, okay, as long as there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
They go out. Now, here's the interesting part. They take these motors to Beatrice for the Spring Nationals. Well, Tom Gutowski, Brett Root, 2 of the biggest names in IMCA.
Right.
They're there. They're looking over the cars. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
They go to Alta. They run 1 and 2.
And they've raced plenty this year so far.
Yeah.
What, 5 times at Denison?
At least.
And 1 time, that have been the second time on Wednesday night at Alta.
Yes. So
Plus,
about
I believe they came out and raced with Charlie Clark.
So that's 8 times each.
Yeah.
They show up at Alta. Well, who's there but Tom Gutowski? Now, Tom Gutowski, he gets free run of the country. He gets to go to any dirt track. He is the national competition director for IMCA.
It's a rough life.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So the issue was the motors were not cheated up. They were not bored. They were not stroked. They were not taken apart. The question was on the seal bolts. And the seal bolts, and I believe, now I didn't see one directly from John or Logan or Keegan. There was one on IMCA's Facebook. There was because the IMCA posted a picture of a seal bolt the very next day, Thursday morning. Is this fake or illegal? Now, where do you think that picture probably come from?
Right.
So that bolt to me looked like a first-generation seal bolt because I had a first-generation crate motor.
Right.
Most of our motors come out now, Dan, on the seal bolt. It's a rounded head, and there's like an encryptograph on the bolt. Okay. Like a little scanner that you could, like a little bar scan or you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
This didn't have that on there. Okay. Does that mean that it was illegal? In my opinion, absolutely not. Does that say that?
But it did. You're only allowed to have 1 seal bolt on the engine, correct?
No, there's seal bolts on the timing cover, the oil
I'm saying
pan.
1 type. It has to be the stock seal
One
bolt.
type. Okay. But now all the bolts matched, but they didn't have the encryptograph or whatever it's called on this motor. So that's where the issue arrived. IMCA.
So did the guy they bought it from cheat it up?
No.
Why would you replace seal bolts? Explain that to me.
That I wasn't there, and I'm not even going to go into that.
Well, we don't have to. Yeah, you're right. You don't want to speculate because then that will. But
yeah,
I'm just trying to understand as far as the benefits for whoever sold it to the Scott brothers to replace those seal bolts. If I'm pulling out 4 old seal bolts or 6 or however many is in there, and I'm just putting regular ones in there. What is the time of day to do that? I'm not going to take them off to just replace them with something else, right?
If you're going to take them off, you're wanting to open up that motor, and you're wanting to get in there, and you're wanting to have some fun with that motor.
So you had a conversation with John Scott, and he said that it came like that. We did not replace those bolts.
No, he bought the motor as is.
And is that brand new this year, or was it the one they ran last year?
I believe that might have been. I'm not for sure.
Yeah,
I'm not for sure on that one.
Well, I mean, if it was if it was the engines he raced from last year, then they got away. I don't want to say they got away with it, but they didn't get popped very quickly. But
No.
as everyone always knows, it doesn't matter when you get popped. It's that you got DQ'd
popped.
because you can commit a crime for as long. I mean, heck, we all commit crimes every single day of the week. We all speed. It's not speeding
Not
until
me.
you get caught. Oh, please. It's just because the Dodge can't get above 65.
Wow. But here's something interesting, and this is straight off rule number 24, subsection A of IMCA. Crate engine must use unaltered sealed GM number 889-58602 or 192-58602 crate engine. That 602 on the back of the block on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
You'll see those numbers there, hence 602 crate engine.
Okay.
Upon inspection, any different, altered, or missing GM seal bolts will result in disqualification, loss of all IMCA points for the season, $1,000 fine, and a 1-year suspension from all divisions with a crate option. GM seal bolt exception is IMCA approved and issued cable lock rebuild system. On the cable lock rebuild system, Dan, that is basically, it looks like a small aircraft cable with a red sealed plastic box around it, and normally that is serialized with the certified engine rebuilder's name on the back.
Okay.
Because then if that motor's cheated, well, now they know who did that motor, and they go back to that shop. So if you're a certified engine builder, or you can do crate engine work, the last thing you want to be associated with is any questionable crate engines.
Okay. Do you have to run crates in the sport mods?
No, you can run a claimer, but once you get popped for something like this, you cannot run claimer.
And they're done at IMCA tracks, right?
Until they are done effectively until June 5th, 2014, and they have to pay a $1,000 fine just to go back to IMCA.
Per car, right?
Per car.
Now,
per driver.
Okay. Was there appeal heard? Was there an appeal process, or was John just pretty much, you know what, this really stinks, but you're right, we had the wrong bolts on the engine?
Well,
because that's inevitably what it boils down to. I know John. I know how good of. I mean, this absolutely sucks for me because I understand the hard work that guy put into Crawford County Speedway.
All three of them.
Yeah, Logan and Keegan both. They were the reason why we got 2 of our 6 races in so far, because when it rained buckets on Thursday morning, they were there all day on Thursday and Friday.
High water.
Exactly. So that's my little spiel. I believe him when he says he's not cheating. This isn't, and I made the joke earlier, this is a Knaus thing. Those guys are pushing the envelope, and every once in a while get slapped by NASCAR. They weren't pushing any envelopes. They just simply, I guess the best way you could say it is negligence. They didn't pay attention to what was on their engine, and they're paying the ultimate price.
To me, you know, a good analogy of this is when Matt Kenseth's engine gets popped for a connecting rod being 3 grams too light. That's all this is. I mean, come on, people.
And this is a pretty severe penalty.
And this is but IMCA, and I hate saying this, but I see what they're doing. If you have a driver that comes says, well, we honestly didn't know. We're not trying to cheat. We just did not know. Well, then if they go with the Keegan or with the Scott brothers and say, okay, look, well, then anybody out there cheating is going to be claiming that.
That's exactly the position that NASCAR was in too, and why they penalized the 20 team so heavily was because that's a pretty gray area as far as TRD building the engines for Joe Gibbs Racing. Had they fined TRD and made all the penalties against TRD but not hurt Matt Kenseth any, then you better believe Rick Hendrick's going, hey, go ahead and cheat up my 48, my 24, my 5, and my 88, and whenever we get caught, we'll just blame it on the engine department that's on the other side of the building. So this is the exact same thing. Unfortunately, this has to be one of those broad penalties that is pretty. Is there any chance those guys are going to get a reduced suspension?
No.
That just sucks.
IMCA is ironclad a lot of the time.
So where are the NASCAR tracks they can go to?
They can race I-80. They can race McCool. They can race Corning. They can race Wagner Speedway.
So they've got a few options.
They have a few options, but when you get caught, you know, sometimes in daily life, when one gets accused of a crime, the accusation many times is just as harsh and severe as the penalty that comes with it. And so sometimes people will be accused of doing things, and then even when they're all cleared and it was proven that there was no wrongdoing, you have that stigma.
Yeah.
And that is what I don't want to see, because Logan and Keegan, they are two of the most promising upstart young racers in the Midwest. Their father, they're farmers. They do put in a lot of hard work. If it wasn't for them, I don't think we'd be racing at Denison as many times as we have this year.
And they're a big reason why there is racing at Denison,
honestly,
period. They helped bring racing back to Crawford County.
They are an incredibly smart family. How ignorant and stupid would they have to be to knowingly go out and cheat up a crate motor when they're, involved with the track?
They both won the championship last year. It's not like they needed to.
Yeah.
Keegan, was it Keegan that won it and Logan finished second?
I think so. Now, going into the races Friday night, they were sitting first and second in points.
Yeah.
But you and I have mentioned several times this year, well, they're not really looking as strong as what they were last year.
They weren't.
They weren't.
They were caught up. Well, actually, I won't even say they were caught up in some accidents. They were just running bad. And I think actually Joe Koziski helped them the night he came down before the Charlie Clark. They were having fuel pickup issues, and Joe pointed out a couple of things they were doing wrong on their cars, made the changes, and they came back and had a much better week.
Yeah.
So
I don't see these guys. They'll be back in IMCA. There's a lot of feelings I can't say on air because I don't want anything coming back on them from IMCA, but I have to be partial, and I can see why IMCA has such a broad, You could see their point, and you could see IMCA's point. Unfortunately, they're going to get the fuzzy end of the lollipop for this year. Now, I will tell you, John went to Carl Chevrolet. They have brand new 602 crate motors. Yeah. They're on the good boy list, getting them from Carl Chevrolet.
Yeah.
What I really hope is that the other tracks do not follow suit. And I have seen this before with other racers in my 20 years of racing, not all the time, but I've seen drivers get popped for cheating, even if it's an IMCA track or a NASCAR sanctioned track, and the other tracks will not let them show up because, they're cheaters. The Scott family are not cheaters.
No.
They are the most honest, down-to-earth, humbled, hardworking people you'll ever meet. They just want to go out there and do the best they can do. It sucks. John's exact words is the whole situation stinks. It is what it is. But I did ask him a good question, which you were getting ready to ask here a few minutes ago, Dan. Well, is there an appeal process? Well, yes. The way I understood it, they could take the motors to an IMCA authorized repair builder, and they could open them up. But if you're John Scott, and I tell you, Dan, you're going to have to go up and see Lou DeVry up in Sioux City. Well, for Lou DeVry to take those bolts out, look at it, and go, okay, well, it's legal. Well, now you have to pay me, the shop, $600 to get it resealed.
Well, that's cheaper than paying the IMCA fine.
Yeah, but now hold on. So you sit there and you put together the fact that you got $8,000 wrapped up in two crate motors for your sons.
Yeah.
Well, now all of a sudden you're up to $10,000 for crate motors. And he's like, it's too much of a heartache. Just screw it. We'll serve the penalty and we'll be back. And I kind of see his point. I mean, at $10,000, I would have just put one of them in an A-mod.
I don't. You're $8,000 into it. Why wouldn't you spend a little bit more to prove to everyone else these are legit engines? You get the penalties lifted. You get the fines lifted. You get to go race IMCA again. They could pick up right where they left off at Crawford and Alta and racing for the points funds between the John Deere Points Championship.
Because the fine that you're paying would not be offset by what you win at the end of the year. You're still going to be out money. Because of sport mods, we only get $300. And if you get it last year at the banquet for Denison, we didn't even get a points fund.
They're still going to do. I mean, they only dropped to 5th and 6th in the points. They're about 30 points out with 7 more races left to go.
At Denison?
You've got more than half the races left to go.
They're done now. All their points nationwide have been removed from IMCA.
Yeah, but if
they had it appealed, right.
So they get their points back.
If it was me, I would probably honestly do the same thing. I would just go somewhere else. But you know what? There's a silver lining in every dark cloud. I'm John.
Listen to this.
If I'm John, I'm laughing, going, all right, you dumb sons of bitches. So I'm going to take my boys. We're going to run NASCAR. NASCAR pays better. It honestly does pay better.
It does pay better.
Pays a lot better. He's got legal crate engines. I-80 Speedway. And
doesn't he have to have they'll
have to get a NASCAR license, but I-80 Speedway, Corning have the bragging rights contest. They can win money there, the bragging right championship. They win more money at the NASCAR tracks, so they're doing better there. But, so maybe next year, they come back. Do they go sport mod, or do we see them getting the seat time and maybe coming back A mod and using the NASCAR venue as an A mod? Because at NASCAR tracks, you can use your B mod in both A and B mod.
Well, we saw that Friday night at Denison too.
That was not Doug Smith in that car.
Yeah, it was Dustin Smith.
Yeah, and all he had to do, he was just out there getting points. Is all he was doing.
Took
the spoiler off.
Spoiler off, yeah.
Yep. IMC will let you do that.
Okay. Yeah.
But they will not let a sport mod driver race with the A mods. Because we're all in the pits going, how does that work? I was like, oh.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Are we missing anything?
No, I just want to reiterate, John, Keegan, Logan, not cheaters, good people. They are not blatantly doing anything wrong. The whole situation as a whole stinks. I'm one of their fiercest supporters and fans. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, instead of getting a hold of them, come through me. Let these guys alone. Let sleeping dogs lie. John said his piece. I'm not going to go into everything that he told me, but it is what it is.
All right, and that's the final word on it. So we will be back next week. I think one of the conversations we're going to try to get some information on, Facebook post was, where are all the late models? And that is a very good question. That is something that I've been asking myself all this year. And so we're going to dive into it a little bit. Maybe we'll get you some answers. We'll talk to a couple late model drivers and find out, hey, where the heck all you guys go? Because there's not a lot of late models that are showing up around.
Who I'd like to get it on for next week for that?
Who?
Todd Cooney.
Well, that'd be a good to get. We'll try to get Todd Cooney on for you next week. This has been Slingin' Dirt. I've been Dan Taylor. That is Buddy Ray. We appreciate you sticking around. Have a good weekend and good luck out there racing, guys. Racing, guys. Racing, guys. Racing, guys. Racing, guys.